headlines for this hour on VTV News. Vietnam, Timor-Leste look to bolster all-round cooperation. Vietnam, India released joint statement on strengthening comprehensive strategic partnership. In inner war news, risk of all-out Middle East war is rising.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. State President Tô Lâm hosted a welcoming ceremony on Thursday for President Jose Ramos Horta of Timor-Leste, who is on state visit to Vietnam. State President Tô Lâm expressed his hope that the visit would invigorate and enhance cooperation between the two countries.
During the reception, State President Tô Lâm thanked Timor-Leste's leaders and people for their warm sentiments towards Vietnam and congratulated them on their socio-economic achievements. President Jose Ramos Horta expressed gratitude for Vietnam's hospitality and extended condolences on the passing of General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trọng. Both leaders were pleased with the progress in bilateral relations, particularly in economic and trade cooperation. They discussed enhancing trade, with Vietnam ready to continue providing rice to support Timor-Leste's food security. State President Tô Lâm urged Timor-Leste to ratify the bilateral trade agreement facilitating business and investments. Timor-Leste's president expressed support for Vietnam's proposals and appreciated its support in human resource development and poverty reduction. Both countries affirmed their commitment to ASEAN and the rule of law in the East Sea, emphasizing peaceful dispute resolution. They witnessed the signing of a visa exemption agreement for diplomatic and public passport holders. President Ramos Horta invited State President Tô Lâm to visit Timor-Leste, and the invitation was accepted. Additionally, on the same day, State President Tô Lâm and President Jose Ramos Horta of Timor-Leste visited the Ho Chi Minh Museum, which features numerous artifacts connected to President Ho Chi Minh, the esteemed leader of the Vietnamese people.
On August 1st, National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn received President of Timor-Leste Jose Ramos Horta, who is on a state visit to Vietnam from July 31st to August 3rd. During the meeting, National Assembly Chairman congratulated Timor-Leste on its provisional acceptance as the 11th member of ASEAN and welcomed the signing of a bilateral agreement on visa exemptions for holders of diplomatic and official passports. He emphasized Vietnam's support for Timor-Leste's full membership in ASEAN, highlighting the importance of maintaining ASEAN solidarity and stance on regional and international issues. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn also extended an invitation to the Chairman of the National Assembly of Timor-Leste to visit Vietnam soon. President Ramos Horta expressed Timor-Leste's commitment to becoming a full ASEAN member and expressed a desire to strengthen cooperation with Vietnam, particularly in agriculture and other areas of expertise. He shared Timor-Leste goals for the next 5 to 10 years, including infrastructure development, clean energy initiative, healthcare improvement, and enhancing human resource quality. He expressed hope for a strong Vietnamese presence in Timor-Leste. On the afternoon of August 1st, State President Tô Lâm received John Lee Ka-chiu, Chief Executive of the Hong Kong-China Special Administrative Regions. He emphasized Vietnam's respect and support for the one country, two system policy, which supports Hong Kong prosperity. He noted the significance of this first official visit to Vietnam by the Chief Executive, enhancing their cooperative relationship. State President Tô Lâm also commended Hong Kong's new policies, facilitating easier entry for Vietnamese citizens. Chief Executive John Lee Ka-chiu expressed condolences for the passings of General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trọng and affirmed Hong Kong's commitment to strengthening ties with Vietnam. He encouraged leveraging Hong Kong's unique advantages and fostering cooperation in trade, investment, finance, tourism, aviation, and emerging fields like science and technology, the digital economy, and clean energy. An official welcome ceremony for Prime Minister Phie and the Vietnamese delegation took place at the Indian Presidential Palace on Thursday, presided over by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. After the welcoming ceremony, the two prime ministers held a significant meeting that extended for nearly an hour beyond the planned duration.
Prime Minister Phie expressed gratitude to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the government of India for their warm and sincere reception, and conveyed greetings from Vietnam's State President Tô Lâm and National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn. Prime Minister Modi extended his deep condolences and affirmed that Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng as a close friend of India, appreciating his significant contributions to the bilateral relationship. The two leaders highlighted the importance of maintaining their traditional friendship and noted significant progress in their comprehensive strategic partnership since 2016, including a tripling of trade turnover. They committed to enhancing cooperation in defense, industry, science and technology, and education, with a goal of doubling trade and investment by 2030. They also agreed to expand collaboration in science and technology, including artificial intelligence, and to promote cultural exchanges, tourism, and people-to-people interactions. Following their talks, they inaugurated the military software park in Nha Trang and witnessed the signing of 9 cooperation agreements. The discussions were conducted in a sincere and productive manner, with a shared commitment to advancing their relationship in various key areas.
Prime Minister Phie and I had an in-depth discussion on all aspects of our bilateral cooperation and explored future directions for collaboration. India's development vision for 2047 and Vietnam's development goals for 2045 will create new opportunities for mutual benefits. Vietnam is a key partner and a cornerstone of India's Act East policy. The Prime Minister's visit marks the beginning of a new chapter in the relationship between our two countries.
We reaffirm the priority and respect that Vietnam and India hold for each other in their foreign policies. We agree to continue cherishing, preserving, consolidating, and strengthening our traditional relationship. India, as a sincere and trustworthy friend, has stood by us throughout history and will continue to do so in the future. We are committed to finding breakthroughs to elevate our bilateral relations to new heights and to strengthening our comprehensive strategic partnership for the prosperity and strength of both nations, as well as for the material and spiritual well-being of our peoples.
The two prime ministers, along with high-ranking officials from both countries, agreed to issue a joint statement on enhancing the Vietnam-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership during the visit.
During his state visit to India, Prime Minister Phie had meetings with the Indian President Draupadi Murmu, Indian Vice President and Jarja Hapa, Chairman Jagdeep Khadan, and as well as several other activities.
On Thursday afternoon, Prime Minister Phie met with Indian President Draupadi Murmu at the Presidential Palace. Prime Minister Phie thanked the President and the government of India for sending their sincere condolences and sending a delegation to pay respects to the late Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng. The Prime Minister emphasized that Vietnam always remembers India's valuable support in Vietnam's development. The Indian President expressed joy that the relationship between the two countries has developed very strongly, especially since the establishment of the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership in 2016. Both sides agreed to strengthen cooperation at regional and international forums. Indian President Draupadi Murmu affirmed that India supports the central role of ASEAN in the region, as well as supports ASEAN's common stance on regional issues, including the East Sea.
At the meeting with Indian Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman Jagdeep Khadan, Prime Minister Phie expressed his gratitude for the condolence messages on the passing of General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng. He proposed that the Raya Sabah continue to support cooperation with Vietnam in all fields. For his part, the Vice President and Raya Sabah chairman emphasized that Vietnam is a traditional friend and an important partner of India. The two peoples have a long-standing close relationship stemming from culture and religious connection.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính and his entourage laid flowers at the bronze statue of President Ho Chi Minh in New Delhi, India on Wednesday. They pledged to strive for a deeper, more substantive and effective Vietnam-India comprehensive strategic partnership.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính on Thursday paid floral tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at the memorial where the national hero of India was laid to rest. Gandhi made great contributions to the success of the struggle for Indian independence in 1947 and was honored by the United Nations as a universal symbol of peace and tolerance.
At the meeting with the Vietnamese community in India, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính expressed his gratitude for the efforts and contributions of the Vietnamese community abroad, including the Vietnamese community in India. He affirmed that the party and state always strive to create the most favorable conditions for overseas Vietnamese to work, study, and live in the host countries.
The European Union-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement EVFTA has been implemented for 4 years. This is the first new generation free trade agreement that the European Union has signed with a developing country in the Asia-Pacific region. The agreement is not only a passport for Vietnamese goods to enter high-quality markets, but also creates opportunity to affirm the brand of Vietnamese products in the global market.
After 4 years, the export turnover to the EU market of this food export enterprise is estimated at 50 million USDs, doubled compared to the time before EVFTA took effect.
The EVFTA helps to win importers' trust and creates very fast penetration into the EU market.
Many sectors in Vietnam have enhanced the utilization of certificates of origin, helping to improve the competitiveness of Vietnamese goods in the European market. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, after 4 years, Vietnam's export turnover to the EU has increased by nearly 1.5 times.
Thanks to the EVFTA, Vietnam has become the EU's 17th largest trading partner and the EU's largest trading partner in ASEAN.
Establishing free trade with developed partners such as the EU helps Vietnam build policies suitable to attract foreign investment. In addition, EU goods imported into Vietnam increased by more than 40%, especially machinery and equipment to meet the demand for investment, production, and high-quality manufacturing.
We are also investing in Vietnam to re-export, whether back to Europe or to other developed markets. So beyond the purely mechanical effect on trade.
Through the increase of trade flows, the increase of investment, this has made Vietnam a key part of our supply chains in Europe. I've recently discussed with our companies established in China.
In the context of new standards on greening, environment, and social responsibility becoming increasingly demanding, Vietnamese goods must be produced and exported in a systematic manner, complying with EU regulations, especially on product quality and safety.
Coming up next on VTV News, 60 years of the Navy's first battle victory. And German woman with a heart for Phie heritage. From August 1st through the end of the month, Action Month for Victims of Agent Orange Dye Sign will feature numerous activities nationwide. The Vietnam Association for Victims of Agent Orange Dioxide has launched the program Joining Hands to Alleviate the Pains of Agent Orange in 2024. This initiative aims to mobilize nationwide support to raise funds for medical examinations and treatment costs, vocational training, the construction and repair of charity houses, and give for improvised victims of Agent Orange. The program's goal is to raise over 2 billion Vietnam dong. On August 4th in Ho Chi Minh City, a companion walking event for titles for victims of Agent Orange Dioxide in 2024 took place, with an expected participation of 5,000 people. 60 years ago, the sea battles of August 2nd and 5th, 1964 went down in history as glorious battles of Vietnam People's Navy. In the confrontation the U.S. created as the Gulf of Tonkin incident, the Navy responded to the enemy provocation with intelligence, bravery, and courage.
A memorial service for the heroic martyrs and people who died in the battles on August 2nd and 5th, 1964 was held at Cửa Lục, Quảng Ninh on Wednesday morning. This is one of the locations where the confrontation with the U.S. Air Force and Navy took place. At the age of 92, Đinh Xuân Tòng, the chief engineer of ship 339 at that time, still remembers the first naval battle when the destroyer Maddox violated the waters near Hòn Mê Island, Thanh Hóa province. At that time, the ship was hit by bullets. The crew repaired the ship while fighting back fiercely.
The Maddox destroyer entered Hòn Mê. The fight started from there and went out to the East Sea. It fired first. The Maddox was several hundred meters long. It had these planes, these warships. It fired like this. Shrapnel fell like rice, densely packed onto the sea surface.
The Maddox was chased away, and immediately the U.S. created the so-called Gulf of Tonkin incident to falsely accuse the North Vietnamese Navy of attacking as an excuse to launch a retaliatory campaign called Pierce Arrow on August 5, 1964, a campaign using bombers from Giang Port, Quảng Bình, to Bãi Cháy, Quảng Ninh, starting the first war of destruction in North Vietnam.
It launched rockets down to the entire Sông Giang port area. At that time, we had just left the port and were fighting back against the aircraft and the patrol boat squadrons inside.
We dared to confront the powerful American ships, like eggs hitting rocks. But in the end, we just ran close to the enemy's ships and launched shots.
60 years since the first victory of the Navy, which is also the first victory of Vietnam's army and people in fighting against the destructive war, protecting the North, the battle had a strategic significance, defeating the escalation of the war by the U.S. The lessons from the first victory remain valuable and continue to be applied to the task of maintaining the independence, sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of the fatherland today.
The Vietnam-Germany Friendship Hospital successfully completed its 10th pediatric heart transplant, saving a 7-year-old girl with end-stage heart failure due to dilated cardiomyopathy diagnosed 3 years ago. The patient's condition worsened despite conservative treatments, making a heart transplant necessary. After receiving a suitable heart donation, despite significant side differences, the child's recovery has been promising, with noticeable improvement in the 3 weeks post-surgery. Genetic disorders are latent in the human body and are passed down from generations to generation. When both parents carry a disease gene, the probability of the child being born with a genetic disorder is about 25%. Nowadays, many couples have proactively screened and detected genetic disease genes early before intending to have children.
One of the preparations for the wedding day of these two young people was a premarital screening together. They went from Sơn La to the National Institute of Hematology and Blood Transfusions to do screening to see if they have the thalassemia gene.
I think premarital screening is necessary to have a healthy baby. We can know for sure whether we carry any genetic disorders.
Every day, dozens of couples come to the National Institute of Hematology and Blood Transfusions for examination and consultation. Among them, many just want to be sure, even when there's no thalassemia cases in their families.
The number of couples being screened for thalassemia is increasing rapidly. This is a positive sign in the prevention of this disease.
Before getting married, Luan and her husband has a premarital test. Now that she's at the 12th week of pregnancy, she decided to do an NIPT test to make sure the baby was healthy.
I knew about this test and even got recommendations from my friends, so I decided to give them a try. Since I'm still young, I can seek treatment if I have the disease-carrying genes.
Through tests, specialists can detect disease and health problems, including potential genetic traits, infectious diseases, especially sexually transmitted diseases.
Restoring heritage not only requires funding, but also putting one's heart into the work carefully and passionately, with a desire to restore ancient beauty or open up the secrets of relics. Those are the words that can be used to describe a heritage conservation expert from Germany who has spent 20 years working to revive and promote the value of Phie heritage.
In 2003, when she first visited Anding Palace, the beauty of the damaged and time-stained murals immediately attracted Andrea Teufel. She decided to stay in Phie to restore these precious murals.
So you see the French influence, and then I start to study. I think it's the combination between science and art and handicraft.
Over the past 20 years, the German expert group led by Andrea has carried out many other restoration projects at Phie heritage sites, such as the gate and screen of Bửu Thành Môn at Tự Đức Tomb, restoration of the exterior of Tối Linh Tử, and the project to preserve and restore the interior decoration of Tả Vu, and the restoration of Phụng Thiên Palace, Phie Imperial City.
We consider her as a great friend. She works very diligently, very enthusiastically, and wholeheartedly, especially through the restoration and cultural heritage education activities for generations.
We often call her with an easy and affectionate name. In preserving heritage, we both learn and create.
Andrea and the Phie Monuments Conservation Center have called for funding for Phie monuments with the most advanced technology in the world, such as high-temperature pressure washers, reviving the fresco technique of painting on wet mortar that had been lost in Vietnam. She also helps the education in heritage conservation. In 2024, Andrea was awarded the title of Honorary Citizens of Phie City for her meaningful contributions.
I would like to work more in the heritage education field. They even love it more than they already do, because actually the Phie people are very connected.
Coming up next in our War News, race of all-out Middle East war is rising. And countries urge citizens to leave Lebanon. Israel's airstrike on the Lebanese capital, Beirut, targeting a senior Hezbollah commander and the assassination of the Hamas political leader are pushing the Middle East region to the brink of a full-scale war. The international community has warned of the dire consequences of this escalation.
Thousands of people gathered in the streets of Tehran on Thursday to mourn Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in an attack in the Iranian capital Tehran on Wednesday morning, and to condemn the violence. Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, along with Hamas leaders, have vowed to respond strongly. Turkey, a regional ally, has also vowed to stand by Tehran. For his part, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that Tel Aviv would respond strongly to any, saying that Israel is prepared for all scenarios. The Israeli leader also vowed to not give in to calls to end the war in the Gaza Strip. Amid tensions rising, The UN Security Council convened an emergency session on Wednesday to find a solution to de-escalate the situation, achieve a ceasefire, and deploy diplomatic efforts to prevent the conflict from escalating throughout the region.
At this extremely sensitive time. The Secretary General urges all to vigorously work towards regional de-escalation in the interest of long-term peace and stability for all. The international community must work together to urgently prevent any action.
The attacks in recent days represent a rapid and dangerous escalation in the ongoing fighting in Gaza, a war that has left more than 38,000 Palestinians dead, more than 88,000 injured, and about 90% of the Gaza Strip's population to lose homes.
In the face of escalating conflict in the region, many countries have urged their citizens to leave Lebanon. The U.S. State Department on Wednesday raised a travel advisory for Lebanon to level 4, do not travel. Switzerland also urges citizens to leave the Middle Eastern country, noting the extremely unstable situations in the region. Sharing similar concerns, Australia and Canada have asked their citizens to leave Lebanon immediately, highlighting the risk of a serious escalation of tensions between Israel and the Hezbollah movement. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Wednesday filed a petition with the country's Supreme Court requesting the court to verify and certify the result of the July 28th presidential election. President Maduro requested the Supreme Court summon relevant organizations to compare all the evidence and conduct a professional assessment at the highest technical level, thereby certifying the election result. Maduro emphasized the left-wing alliance, Great Patriotic Bloc, and the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, the alliance supporting him for the re-election, are ready to present 100% of the contents of the electoral dossier they hold. The leader requested other candidates and political organizations to act similarly. The Pentagon announced Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, accused of masterminding the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks in the United States, and two of his accomplices agreed to plead guilty after 21 years in prison. Mohammed and two accomplices are expected to plead guilty at the military commissions in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, as early as next week. Defense lawyers have proposed that the three subjects be sentenced to life in prison instead of the death penalty in exchange for their guilty pleas. These three people have been detained since 2003. Mohammed, a member of the international terrorist organization Al-Qaeda, is considered by the U.S. to be the mastermind who came up with the idea of hijacking planes to carry out terrorist attacks targeting the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York, United States, and the U.S. Department of Defense headquarters. And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. That's it for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.